Hello, everyone. Okay, so now we're going to focus on Workstreams and the Product Council stuff that we traditionally do on this day. So we will actually have a voting session later on. We're going to do it via a Miro board. I'm sure you'll all appreciate this level of democracy we're bringing to the process. So let me just
Paul, could you go to presentation mode? That'd be helpful. Thank you. There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, to set out a framework for the work streams that we are addressing, we choose to define a set of goals that are meaningful to the Product Council and which are in alignment with the goals of the Motor Loop Foundation. So define three goals. We want to achieve a number of national deployments with international connectivity. These may or may not be supported by a number of subnational deployments. We want a self-sustaining Motor Loop community. In other words, we want to have deployments out there where it is sufficiently of interest to the hub operators that their business benefits from investing further in the development of Motor Loop, at which point we hope it's self-sustaining. Finally, the Motor Loop Foundation being able to participate in international standards and payments bodies by right. And what I mean by that is that the, Motor Loop is regarded as so much of a success and such an important element of the global payments community that when BIS or ISO or anyone else wants to establish a new body to discuss some aspect of payments, that a representative of the Motor Loop Foundation is invited, as opposed to us having to go along and kick down the door. At that point, if we can achieve these three objectives, I think that we can view the work of the Motor Loop Foundation to be a success. So going back to the pillars, their objectives, etc., as we've discussed many times. So the Product Council's work streams are built around the concepts of a foundational quality product. If we don't have the quality product, as we've just been hearing from Sam, Miguel, Paul, Vijay, if we don't have that quality product in place, then all else is moot. And then building on that quality product, we have the three pillars aimed at making adoption of Motor Loop easier. So let's not make it difficult to get Motor Loop deployed. Let's make it as easy as possible for people to experiment, to deploy in different environments, etc. Next, achieving scale, helping deployments achieve impact and sustainability through scale. In other words, let's not just put the plumbing in place, but give people or hub operators or scheme operators the tools to make their deployments profitable, whether that's financially or through some other mechanisms that they choose to define. And the third pillar, recognizing the need to connect to other payment services. We're never going to be in a world where Motor Loop is the only payment switch in existence. We need to interoperate with people. So let's make it easy for people to interconnect to other forms of hub, switch, IPS, whatever it may be. These pillars together combine to support the goals of the Motor Loop Foundation, and the roadmap overall is the identification of work streams for each pillar and their sequencing in pursuit of these goals. So we're introducing an extra level here on the right-hand side, work stream objectives. So to be a qualifying work stream for a particular pillar, the work stream must meet one or more of the objectives of that pillar. And those three pillars, plus the quality product that they rely on, work together to achieve the goals of the Product Council and of the wider Motor Loop Foundation. So we've defined some draft objectives for these pillars, and I'm welcome. Comment on these is welcome. Happy to review and change as necessary. So there are four objectives for Pillar 1. Increase the options for deployment with a focus on on-prem. On-prem is our absolute priority for this PI and probably for some time to come. Improve support for nation-scale deployments. In other words, make sure that we can meet the security and throughput requirements that a nation-scale deployment requires. And also that has impacts on compliance, etc., with the requirements of supervisory authorities. Make it easier for potential deployers to evaluate modular. Why put hassle in their way? Make it as easy as possible for somebody to try it out. And then to foster a fintech and systems integrated community. They're the people who will actually help in Pillar 2 in helping us achieve scale. But unless we actually foster that community, then we're on a losing game. Pillar 2, which is all about achieving scale, has only two particular objectives that a workstream must comply with. First, ensure the sustainability and relevance of deployments. This is all about meeting the needs of hub operators. So make sure there's a hub operator's requirement for a particular use case. It might be as simple as that, or a set of tools, or whatever it is, whatever they need to help them achieve the scale in their country. We should be adopting that within this pillar. And then secondly, bring modular deployments into people's daily lives. So we want to interconnect, what's the best way of saying this? The requirement is to look at people's actual needs, take the 360 view of what a person on the ground actually needs. So that's obviously things like payments, P2P, merchant payments, but it's also things like savings, insurance, so risk management, and obviously for some individuals, loans. So we have to ensure that all of these aspects are addressed by a modular deployment, because unless you actually get that 360 view of somebody's financial life, then you're going to cause people to resort to cash. We want to keep everything digital if we can. Pillar 3, connect to other systems. Well, we need more options for interconnection with other key players. Make sure our multilateral cross-border proposition is fit for purpose, embraces emerging standards, and can actually be supported by the platform. Ensure Moduloop is the preferred payments and settlement solution for the DPG community. Ensure our various cross-border efforts use best practice. Enhance visibility in the international payment space, and embrace emerging standards. We've been doing a lot over the last PI for all of these 6 points. And I hope that we will continue in the coming PIs. Quality product. Ensure our various activities in cross-border and national deployments are supported by our settlement model. There's no point in actually carrying out the transactions if we can't settle them. Improve support for nation-scale deployments. So that's about making sure that the core is up to date and is able to operate with the security and scale that we require. Make sure everything works together and is kept up to date. And we've just seen that presentation by the core team, which exactly addresses that point. Make it easier for hub operators to keep their service up to date with Moduloop developments. Let's not make it difficult for somebody to go from version 14 to version 15 or whatever it may be. Let's make it so that it's a straightforward process that enables the hub operator to satisfy the requirements of the regulatory authority that they're with. And finally, ensure Moduloop is a secure platform from the perspective of both transactions and operation. So Workstreams in future will be tested against these objectives, and that's what will be used to assign them to a pillar. And if they don't fall into one of those pillars, then it will not be an official workstream. We're changing the way we look at work streams as well. And that's because there are some work streams which simply don't fit into the model that we've used for years. So we've now identified two classes of work stream. The classic technical work streams, which are aimed at building something. And the outputs of those work streams, of course, we all know, their code specifications or designs. But we are increasingly looking at strategic work streams. These are about engaging with external standards bodies or bodies who are seeking to develop new techniques for settlement or all that kind of thing, and defining APIs as well. And the outputs of these work streams should be specifications, definitions for technical work streams. Otherwise, what's the point of them? So an official technical work stream is subject to the work stream governance rules. Those rules at the moment are in draft with Simian. They are available to anyone in the community to review. There's no real surprises in there, but we are trying to bring a degree of formality to the governance of work streams. A work stream must align with the objectives of at least one pillar and must align with the goals of that pillar. It has to have defined technical outputs from the start, code or specifications for code. A work stream will last for just one PI, although it can be extended. At this meeting, we can choose to extend some work streams. However, that must include new or refined technical outputs, which must be defined with reference to the Product Council. Outputs of a technical work stream will be, as now, reviewed by the Product Council, but we're also going to make sure that there's a semi-formal process of reviewing in parallel with the design authority. The purpose being to ensure that it is a quality product and that it's in alignment with the rest of the developments that's going on within the Moja Loop Hub. There'll be a formal process for the integration of code outputs into the next version of Moja Loop. This will be according to a schedule which is defined by the core team, and Sam will manage that process from now on. So these are just a quick review of the work streams from the last PI. These are the 5 from the Pillar 1. So Miniloop, that was all about upgrading Miniloop to support Moja Loop 15 and a range of other enhancements, and that's actually made extremely good progress over the last PI. And in fact, we can regard this as complete. Azure, similarly, that's had a lot of good progress. The Azure Marketplace install is now upgraded to v15 or v15.1. The work on the FinTech Sandbox about developing processes for onboarding fintechs, that has gone well. It's actually progressed a lot over the last few weeks. Support for on-prem. This is in bold, and the reason for that is it's an absolute priority for the foundation. We haven't made a great deal of progress on this. It's stalled because we need more community support. We have a number of potential deployments and proof of concepts which require an on-prem installation, and we need the community to help us with this. The work done on the alternative multi-cloud native deployment tool, looking at other deployment options, there's been good progress on that, and we've had that report, I think that was yesterday. Yeah. So on Pillar 2, the technical work streams, we only had one surviving one, which was the merchant payments. There's been good progress on that. A lot of work has been done in specifying the merchant registry. We didn't get so far as developing the merchant registry. But a lot of the specification work has been done, and we now have a design which has been through the design authority and has subsequently been reviewed by the Merchant Registry Workstream, and I believe that they're going to go back to the DA for another review in the near future. Pillar 3, the technical work streams, next-gen settlement, support for multiple simultaneous settlement models. Well, we've seen that there's been great progress on that. There still need more work on integrating it into core, particularly core ledger, but good progress has been made. MOSIP integration. We didn't actually have a presentation on this. For some reason this week it dropped off the agenda, but never mind. I can report that we have made a lot of progress on that. We have a detailed specification now for the integration, not just with MOSIP, because the whole point about this is routing payments to a MOSIP alias. So there's integration with MOSIP, integration with MIFOS, and an option for integration with OpenG2P and other DPGs. This is a really important, it's a technical work stream, but it has strategic importance because it's all about making us the preferred option for the DPG community. And we also know that there are a number of potential national deployments which are looking for exactly this type of integration in order to support social payment programs. So again, this is another strategic one for the foundation. The quality product, the platform itself, next-gen settlement. This is really about Tiger Beetle. We've seen this. There's been great work on this. We need it for national scale deployments. vNext, we saw this week. There's been a huge amount of progress on that. It's very much accelerated in the last 2 or 3 months, to the point now where Pedro and the team have reached alpha status exactly on time. So that's really good news. The core team, well, you've just seen the presentation there, doing a great job there, making sure that the modular core is maintained and facilitating the release of modules and supporting the integration of work from other work streams. It will be a continuing process forever. But without that, we do not have a quality product. The modular update and lifecycle management work stream. It was a very slow start on this work stream, but we think it's potentially extremely important for hub operators. So it's good to see there has been some progress. Moving on to strategic work streams. An official strategic work stream must align with the objectives, etc. It's all the same things as technical work streams, except that it's not limited to one PI. It's assumed to be relatively low intensity. It's all about interactions with external entities, waiting for working groups to review documents, etc., move on to the next release, etc. By default, therefore, it will carry over from one PI to the next, and it'll be terminated when it's no longer useful. However, we are moving to a formal expectation around outputs of the strategic workstream. We expect the owner of a strategic workstream to, when appropriate, deliver technical workstream definitions. And the purpose of that is to allow the potential adoption at the next community meeting. We don't want this just to go from week to week or to step outside of the product council process. We want those formal definitions, and we want them adopted by product council and in alignment with everything else that we're doing in the technical space. And these are the strategic work streams at the moment. They're all in Pillar 3. These are, I think, 3 of these are Michael. Interledger, ISO 222, and the FX support. There's been good progress on them all. The international payments addressing, that's Sam and myself working with the UN CDF. That was slow to start, but we've had a number of good workshops on that, and we've started to work towards what we need to do in terms of defining technical work streams. And the cross-border special interest group is all just about making sure that we are keeping an eye on developments in cross-border transactions and making sure that our long-term strategy is in alignment with what everyone else in that space is doing. I expect that to continue for a long time to come. So just reviewing the work streams, Pillar 1, the mini loop work, it's complete. We'll move it to maintenance now, and as there are further releases of modular loop, we will look to the community to help us make any changes necessary to mini loop to make sure that we can continue to use it in future versions of modular loop. Azure Phase 2, again, same message really, it's complete, so we're going to move it to maintenance. FinTech Sandbox, this is complete. We have all the processes in place. There may be some maintenance activity, but essentially this is going to be handed over to Desire to manage, to use that in future. Support for on-prem. This is I've said it multiple times, this is a high priority for us. We didn't make enough progress in the last PI. This is a significant risk area for us. So we're going to continue it to the next PI and appeal again for community help in this. The alternative multi-cloud native deployment tool, it's, again, we've got the outputs of that. We're going to just move it to maintenance and keep a watching brief on it. And the reason for that is to emphasize the focus that we have on on-prem at the moment. We don't have the resource to continue to support multi-cloud deployment tools. We need to concentrate any resource we do have on on-prem. Pillar 2, got to move to actually developing the merchant registry and moving to other aspects of the specification around the use of QR codes and what the transaction looks like. I mean, we've done initial design work on that, but it needs to be taken to the next level, and we need to actually start building stuff. So that's going to continue to the next PI. Next gen settlement, that continues to the next PI. We need it. MOSIF integration, definitely continuing to the next PI. Again, strategic importance. The Tiger Beetle stuff will continue to the next PI. Next, we said yesterday that we got to alpha, and now this moves to a stage where the product council needs to review it from a product perspective to see where it is missing or where it is complete, etc. From a product perspective, and it must go to code review by the foundation to make sure that we're happy with how it's being developed and whether it's suitable for adoption. We will be providing an overall report on that and submitting that to the TGB and letting the TGB decide what to do. Next steps for the next. Core team, well, it's, as I said, it's something that we need to do. We need it all continuously forever. Continues to the next PI. Modular loop update and lifecycle management. Again, this is really important for whole operators. So that, again, continues to the next PI. So to summarize, these are the work streams which are going to be carried over to PI 22. These are the technical ones. So thank you. 1 from Pillar 1, 1 from Pillar 2, 2 from Pillar 3, and 3 from quality product. So we've trimmed it quite significantly. Oh yeah, just a note, just to remind me to say it. The leads of these work streams will all be required to set out a new set of objectives for the next PI. So think of this as a reset. Let's get a clear understanding of what you want to do over the next PI. strategic work streams continue as before, but work stream leads will be engaged with to define the outputs for potential adoption as technical work streams. So bringing a degree of formality to these strategic work streams. Now we move on to the good stuff, the new work streams. What we have here is a set of 7 work streams that have been suggested for adoption in the next PI. I'll just go through them. First of all, PISP. PISP, the specifications have been developed for version 2, and there needs to be some work within Payment Manager as well to support it. So this is a reasonably important thing to do, and it is something that will come up as a requirement fairly soon. Then the next one that we have is use of a national CBDC for settlement. There is work being done by the World Bank already on this, and it's a nice to have, but I personally don't feel it's something that we particularly need as a high priority. If we do need it, then we'll take the World Bank's work. I'm sure they'd be very happy for us to actually go live on a real service if we needed to. Payment Manager. Payment Manager is one of those things that it facilitates people using Moduloop, and yet we're in a position where it hasn't actually been adopted by the Moduloop Foundation. And there are multiple reasons for that, but 2 of them are the fact that the documentation is not complete and the fact that there is insufficient test coverage of Payment Manager. I feel that Payment Manager is a strategic requirement for us. We really need it for multiple deployments that's coming up. We need to adopt it. We need to formalize that process, and we need to, if we're going to do that, we actually have to have, again, a quality product there. So we need complete documentation and we need complete test coverage. So that to me is a priority. Foreign exchange. Michael's done some great work in specification. We have the APIs specified for this. But this is going to come and hit us very, very soon. We're looking at a number of deployments today that absolutely rely on the ability to carry out international transactions. And yet we do not have an implementation of the FX APIs. This is, of all of these things, I'd say that's the highest priority. We really have to have that. Next item is performance characterization. And this is quite important because at the moment we cannot actually compare the performance of Moduloop in different environments, different configurations, on-prem or in cloud, different cloud configurations. We have no way of saying which is best for which type of application. And we need the tool to allow us to do this. So this is quite an important one as well. Number 6 is toolkit extensions to support testing participant connections. So, in other words, to allow a participant to use TTK in order to verify or validate their connection into a Moduloop hub. This is nice to have, but if we do number 3, then do we really need it, would be my view. And then the final one is a strategic workstream. We need to explore mechanisms for the integration of existing IPSs into a Moduloop-based regional scheme. This is again a high priority. We're looking at deployments today which actually require that, but we're not even ready to consider a technical implementation. We have to do the strategic work first. Let's evaluate different techniques, different mechanisms to support that integration. So we need to investigate that first and evaluate. So, in summary, that strategic work stream is definitely going ahead, and we need a work stream lead for it. So we will look to find a workstream lead, Michael, on that. I didn't hear him say no, so that's good. Of the others, you are free to vote. You're the community. You are able to vote. But my strong recommendations are number 3, payment manager adoption. Number 4, foreign exchange. And number 5, performance characterization. They're what we need as a team to get to the next deployments. It's what everybody we're talking to, we want this functionality. And so we have to be able to deliver it. Everything else is, I don't mean to be pejorative, but okay, I will be. Everything else is a luxury item. But I don't get to choose. So it's over to you guys. And we are going to have a voting process. That voting will be carried out in the traditional sense, in the traditional way, using a Miro board. I am going to put a link to the Miro board on the chat.
Oh, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused, and before we proceed, I need to understand what's happening, because it sounds like this is a community and we're voting, but stuff was removed out of the voting option. So how can I vote for something that is not there anymore? So how can the community, for example, say that they want to continue supporting vNext or Miniloop or some of the other things that were removed from the voting possibilities?
But these have not been removed at all. Go back. These work streams are carrying over, most definitely. These are happening because they've been adopted in the past. They are not complete, and they will be continuing. vNext, as we've said, is now subject to review. It needs to be adopted by the community, but before we can get to that, we need to do an evaluation. So we need to understand the gap, if there one exists at all, between what there is now and what we would need.
Would you say that's one of the most strategic work streams of them all?
Exactly. So it's being taken, at the moment it's being taken out of the voting because we need to do a proper evaluation before we can open it up to that voting process. We're not in a position to vote on it at the moment.
Okay, so that process is not in the community. That's what you're saying.
Well, it will be in the TGB. It's the TGB that decides that.
Okay.
Product Council is going to take a view from a product perspective. There's not me, it's the Product Council will look at it from a product perspective. And the core team will take a review from a code review perspective.
Okay, what about Miniloop, for example? How do I vote for that? I think that's one of the most fundamental things that we had.
Miniloop is complete. It works. It's moving to maintenance. It's been adopted.
I'm sorry, what does it mean move to maintenance? That's the thing that
It means
Pedro, I think that let me just jump in for a minute. We've completed the work on Miniloop. It's done. We're not going to keep iterating on it. Just add features and tweak it and do this and that. We've got priorities. Move to maintenance means that it doesn't mean that we're taking it and giving it to some magical team that we haven't identified. I think you're confused about that, Pedro. What we're talking about is saying that it is no longer a feature development activity. And so it may need to continue to be upgraded to the new releases. It may have bug fixes and other things. The same people that work on everything else work on this. The point we're making is that it is not a function of, it is not a target of feature development work at this time because it's complete, it's met its objectives. I hope that's clarifying somewhat. It's not that we stop talking about it and it just suddenly magically helps itself. We of course have to fix bugs. People have to work on it, but don't get caught up in that terminology. It's not a team statement.
That's precisely it. Thank you, Miller. So Miniloop in particular, for example, it's a key tool that we need and we will continue to maintain, but we don't need new features, is the summary of it.
Oh, okay, okay, I understand. So who's that? How do we, whenever we have a new version like 15 or 16, who's going to work on Miniloop to update it to the new versions and take care of security and all of those things? Is it the core team?
It's a matter for the community to decide.
I would suggest if nobody steps up to do that, it's likely to fall to the core team to be asked to do that, yeah.
But why don't we vote on that? Why don't we have the community voting on that?
What are we voting for? What decision do you want to vote on?
Does it matter to the community to keep investing in it? Same as VNext. Does it matter to the community to keep going, to keep doing it?
No, I think you're confusing it again, Pedro. The Miniloop is a thing. We built it. It's done. If you want to iterate on it, you have to have a list of features that the product council agrees are valuable, and you can establish a work stream to do those things. We're not going to just keep tinkering with it. We're done. We need to move on to next things. We've got a limited amount of attention we can put on things, and as Paul has pointed out, we have some developments coming up, but some very specific and very large pieces of work that they need to see done. Miniloop is adequate as it's presently deployed. Yes, it's going to require some things as we go along, but it's not just a subject of improving it for its own sake. But we're getting past that point and getting to where we have things that are complete and we can use them. And yeah, they have to be maintained.
It reaches the point of maturity.
VNext is not in that bucket, by the way. VNext is nothing. You can't compare those two. They're not the same.
No,
VNext is now, we have reached the alpha point. It's going to be going to the product council. They'll do their review. The DA, the community itself, will do the code review. A recommendation will come to the TGB. We'll look at that from a mission point of view and make our recommendation back to the community as to what we think would be a good direction for this to go. But ultimately, that is not expected to take 6 months. I mean, this is something that we're going to do relatively quickly, but it's out of bandwidth feature development on Workstreams. I mean, it's we've achieved the goal we're looking for at this stage. That doesn't mean we're done. It just means that the next piece of it is this evaluation review that has to take place. That's not where Miniloop is. Or some of the other things on this. They're just done.
Okay, well, I'm just sad to see Miniloop being put on the kind of on the shelf because it's been so successful. And regarding
no, you're still not getting it. We're not putting it on the shelf. Pedro,
okay, then
it's useful. Use it anytime you want to use it. It is an active part of the stack. It is working software. It's not being shelved.
Can I?
This is
on a shelf.
It's a tool that has reached maturity.
It's on a shelf so you can take it, is the point, Pedro. I think that's what Miller's trying to get to. It's on a shelf, yes, because it's so good. We want to have it there and people can take it. I think it's close. That's the clear message from that one.
Thank you.
I would like to have you.
VNext is different. We have in the life cycle of VNext, we've reached a gate, and that gate requires review by product council, review by the wider community before we decide on how we proceed to the next gate after that. And it's not in a position where we can just vote on that today. We need to review first.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing that we think demands a rigorous approach.
Yeah. We're not talking about months. We're talking about a few weeks.
Yeah, I was going to ask Paul, how quick is that going to be? Because I can think of several implementations I'm in that at the moment I would look more like it looks more favorable to go that direction than it does with the current. So we're talking weeks.
Yeah, at most.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it's also a question too. You have to be careful here that VNext is not at a level of maturity that it can be deployed to production, and that won't happen in a few weeks' time either.
Yeah, I agree,
So,
Miller, not
okay.
production, but we've got long tails on a couple of these opportunities. And it makes sense to start with what is possibly the next version. So we need to determine that that's going to be the next version.
And you should definitely be part of the evaluation process. This is a community process. It's not something that, we're not going to have a star chamber do it. It's the community process.
Yeah.
We each have a role to play in that. So.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the rationale. I'm sorry if I didn't make it clear enough, Pedro, as we were going through. It's not that we're rejecting it. We have adopted it. Yeah, and we're not rejecting vNext. vNext, we are, as I say, we've reached a gate. We need to go through the process to take us past that gate. That's all. Okay.
Well, let me know how I can help that review and all of that happen as soon as possible, because
sure.
I'm concerned that we lose the team. So, and obviously, that's only a problem if it goes forward. But please let me know if there's anything that I can do to help. And
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pedro. Okay, so we're going to move to these are going back here. Yeah, these are the three to choose. Choose for three from these. So we're going to go to a vote, the Miro board-based vote, and everybody gets 3 votes. And it's based on honesty, because I have no way of checking how many votes you're going to use. So please don't put 100 votes in for your favorite option. So